Okay, so the New England Patriots drafted not one, but two quarterbacks on draft weekend, and they also have Jacoby Brissett. And Jerod Mayo has been pushing the idea very aggressively that it's competition, and that the best man will play, and that there is no sacred cow, and it doesn't matter that you were the third overall pick in the draft. Here's what he said on NFL Network on that point about Drake Maye. Coming in as a rookie, hopefully Maye is a sponge. A lot of good players in that locker room. Look, Jacoby understands. He's a mentor. He's very smart, has great leadership skills, and hopefully Drake can learn something from him as well. I would say we're going to compete all spring. We're going to compete during training camp, and the best player will start. Look, it's not like something that's going to end with a competition that someone is going to win or lose through objective measurements. It's still going to be a subjective decision. So if it's close, where do we think it's going to go? If it's close, it's probably going to be Drake Maye, with the understanding that once you go with the rookie, you can't go back. If you go with the veteran, you can flip to the rookie. And yes, you can go back, but it creates all sorts of issues and questions, and it messes with his development if he has to worry about getting yanked out of the game and can't make mistakes and can't learn. But, who knows if the competition is rigged? That's my point. It could be rigged. It could be something that Drake Maye is going to win even if he doesn't. But at least they're creating the environment. I remember when they put Ryan Tannehill at third on the depth chart in Miami 12 years ago, thinking, this is just to get the guy in a spot where he builds some confidence and the team sees he can do it before he's the starter. Climb the ladder, prove yourself to yourself and everyone else, and that's what I think this is about. Nothing's handed to Drake Maye. He's got to earn it. And if he fails, then it's Jacoby Brissett. Plain and simple.
Yeah. I mean, Jacoby's ready to go. I almost look at it in a different way. I was almost surprised to hear them say that in general, right? But I think they have to say that. Now, again, like we talked about, Jerod Mayo said it himself at the owners' meeting. He needs a little work. There's some things he needs to work on, right? So it was something along those lines. I know that's not the exact quote, right? Most people in football, again, that watch Drake Maye do not think he's ready to go start right now, right? I think they have to say this right now, right? I mean, we know they got to earn it, and they're going to try to make it look like that, and we know that he's favored in this whole thing in the long run. But I think they have to say competition right now, because if they said, we really want to sit him a year, everyone's going to go, then why did you draft him number 3? Right? The number 3 pick does not sit a year. That's not what it is about. That wouldn't be the value. That doesn't make sense. I mean, again, I can't think of any that are like that. Can you think of top 3, top 4 picks that don't play kind of right away, early, do that, and kind of are expected? So I feel like once you make that pick, you have to say that. Because if you say, hey, we're going to let him sit a year, guys like me are going to go, then why the hell did you pick him number 3? Why did you do that? Right? You need help right now. So, I kind of find it interesting that way. I don't think they're going to put a ton of pressure on him, but he's going to have that competition. And of course, they can fall back on Brissett if they feel like Drake Maye's not ready to go.
Well, and I think, to your point, making the situation even more delicate, the fact that they could have traded that pick and gotten more.
Yeah, right.
And picked a bunch of guys who were plug and play, game ready, make the team better now.
Exactly,
You're putting
Mike.
all your eggs in the Drake Maye basket.
Right.
You're putting more pressure on him. You're putting more pressure on yourself. And I think that makes it even more important that they wait until he's ready to put him out on the field. So they're going to, this is good. I like this. They're going to hide behind the issue of competition as a way to kind of coddle the kid to make sure he's absolutely ready when they go. Because once you put him out there, it's hard to go back.
Yes.
It's very hard to go back.
Right.
And then you got Joe Milton III lurking around who can throw an orange 100 yards and might fascinate and become the darling of some Patriots fans who are like, we kind of want to see what this guy can do in games. I mean, if we're going to suck, we might as well at least have fun watching this guy launch piss missiles through the air at Gillette Stadium. Let's put him out there.
How dare you use my phrases like that? How dare you?
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
But yeah, you're right. And that's that's kind of what I think they're kind of gonna do here. Now maybe he surprises them, right? All right. And then, okay, great. He surprises us. He's ready to go. And he is competing legitimately with Jacoby Brissett. And we are seeing growth. And he has fixed some of the mechanical issues we've talked about here on this show and everybody's talked about and some of those inconsistencies. Then, yeah, they ride with him. But, yeah, right now, number 3 pick with the trades that were there and available, and thank you for buttoning that up for me, right? I think they have to make it look like he's competing because of what you're saying. If they didn't, like, well, oh, wait, he's going to sit on the bench, and we could have had other guys that help the team out right now. Yeah, I think that looks a little weird on them to take that approach.
And one of the things about Brissett, Devin McCourty mentioned this on Friday because he's still tight with a lot of those guys, and he talks to Brissett all the time. And Brissett really likes, I think, the quarterback's coach and or the offensive coordinator. He said Brissett always hates his position coach, but he's really happy. He's really happy with the situation, which, Brissett has been one of those guys that plays well enough to make you say, but never busts through to top half starter or consistent starter. And, one of the things he was disappointed by last year, this is something Devin said, never got a fair chance to compete in Washington.
Right.
It was always Sam Howell.
Yep.
It was always Sam Howell. And then he finally got a chance late in the year, and it's like, hey, Jacoby Brissett can play. I think he senses a fair chance to compete. And again, this might just be a way to protect Drake Maye from being thrown into the fray prematurely with a ton of expectations. And you don't want to start down this path of, well, Drake Maye maybe needs to step back, like the Zach Wilson. That's kind of what happened with him. That was how they justified benching him in 2022. He needs to step back. He needs to just kind of reevaluate. He needs to get back to basics and fundamentals. You don't want that because it doesn't end well. Once you put that guy out there, if you reel him back in, it's going to be a problem. It's one of the reasons I think why they stuck with Mac Jones for as long as they did and were resistant to pull him out. Now, at some point, it became part of a middle finger from Bill Belichick to the Crafts to leave Mac Jones out there because it was part of this broader Shakespearean production that was happening with Matt Patricia involved and just this push and pull and acrimony. But just generally speaking, once you go with that highly touted, highly drafted quarterback, it's just awkward to start playing musical chairs. You got to be sure he's ready when you put him in.
That's right.
And that's the point you made all along. He's the one that may be the least ready. 26 starts in college. Jacoby Brissett, for crying out loud, has started 48 NFL games in his career.
Yeah. I mean, you said it right about Jacoby Brissett. There's like NFL starting caliber traits in Jacoby Brissett, right? I mean, we saw him with the Colts that year when Andrew Luck left, and he had a little success and had it going, and then he kind of hurt his knee, and then he kind of started to play not so good, and he didn't take advantage of the situation, in totality that year, right? And he's been in a lot of other situations where, it's like he's looked at the bridge guy or just hold it down for a little bit or be the backup. But I think he's in a place here in New England that, does believe in him, and they know him. And Gerard Mayo knows Jacoby Brissett, having been there and part of that Patriots organization and all of that. So I think there is a little bit more comfort with them, maybe compared to most teams, going, hey, if we got to start him, that's fine. And if he has to start the whole year, that's great. If he has to start, 7 or 8 games, to your point on what you're saying, and then we feel like, hey, we're not very good, we're 2-5, and we feel like Drake Maye is finally ready, now we ride Drake Maye for the rest of the year and into the offseason and hope we can grow him into that. But, I think you're right in what you're saying. I'm always in favor of a guy playing. I am. But when that guy plays, or if he plays, you got to make sure there's a certain support system and some things in place that he's not going to totally just fall flat on his face. And that's not only with the team, which I think the Patriots will have to figure out, but it's also with the player, and make sure that he's close to giving his best full self out on the football field so he can grow on that. Because, you don't want to throw the guy out there that's swimming in the playbook, swimming with his mechanics, and then to what you're saying, it all falls apart, and it's like, oh my gosh, and people are booing, and oh my gosh, and then all this negative stigma comes around the quarterback, and then we take him out, and then we put Jacoby Brissett back in, But now there's this like, I don't know, did we make the right pick? All the fans are saying this. Ooh, is this guy made for this? All of that. And that's where I would agree with you. You got to make sure he's ready to go to put his best foot forward.
So let's assume Jacoby Brissett wins this competition.
Right.
And the Drake Maye needs some time.
Yeah.
How long before it gets awkward? What's the over-under on, okay, this is the point that we got to put this guy out there, or we look like idiots for using the 3rd overall pick on Drake Maye?
I feel like once you
this isn't Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix.
No, I know. This is different. You're right. I mean, this is one where the team is not good, and the fans are going to be clamoring at some point to go, hey, let's get the future going. Let's get this guy out there. There's going to be people in the organization saying that. Halfway point of the season, let's see where the schedule is. Let's see where that bye week is, right? I think those are little things we can look at for little markers to kind of figure that out. If the first 5 games is murderer's row, I'll go, well, maybe game 6 will be the time he jumps in, right? How we always talk about that. Let everybody get settled, get the team going a little bit, get him used to football. They got a tough start of the schedule. We'll see how that shakes out. If it's good, okay, it's good. But if it's not so good, we now have, a crack in the door to start talking and thinking about putting Drake Maye and putting him out there to play football.
The other thing about it, too,
Yeah.
it becomes an endless talking point
Yes.
for Gerard Mayo.
Right.
I remember 2016 when the Rams made Jared Goff the 1st overall pick. Case Keenum was the starter, and it was every week, every practice, every press conference for Jeff Fisher. When is Jared Goff going to play? When is Jared Goff going to play? Now, 1st overall pick in the draft that you trade up to get, that makes it even more glaring when you don't play him. But that's kind of what the presumption has become. As you were saying earlier, you used the 3rd overall pick on this guy. That's not a player you stash. That's why we've been dragging the Falcons for a full week now, because they used the 8th overall pick on a guy who, if everything goes as planned, is going to sit all year and all of next year and maybe all of the 3rd year. You're not a team that has the luxury of doing that. The Patriots don't have that where we can stash a guy for a year. They need to rebuild the roster. So I don't know who else they would have taken. Maybe Malik Neighbors. You would have had him take Malik Neighbors in that spot, right? If you're not taking Drake Maye, if you want a guy that can make an impact right away, wouldn't your guy have been Neighbors at 3?
Probably. Yeah, it would have been. I mean, my ideal situation would have probably been to trade down and then, get players and picks like you're talking about. But if I'm stuck there at 3, Neighbors certainly would have been a part of that conversation for me, no doubt.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.